BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Farming Today podcast with me, Charlotte Smith. In this episode, missing the UK tree planting targets again. Let's start though with English olive oil. As unlikely as it might sound, it is now a reality after a Cornish olive grower pressed his first oil last winter. Nik Butcher claims to be the first person to bottle English olive oil commercially since the Roman times. Robin Markwell from Radio 4's food programme went to meet him.
We're looking at our first set-up test pod of 20 olive trees, which are in fruit already with tiny little fruit on them, which will grow through the summer and be ready for harvest in October.
And they're very mature trees, aren't they? They've got very thick trunks.
Yeah, we took trees that were between 12 and 15 years old, so they've already had a working past. So we know they historically fruit, and that lessened the risk of doing it.
Exciting, isn't it?
It is. It's really exciting and equally scary.
Well, on the scary side, can we talk money? In the supermarkets recently, we've seen olive oil, maybe a litre, £8-9. Do you think you can match that sort of thing or undercut it?
No. And again, what you've got in supermarkets is mass-produced, lower quality, blended olive oil.
So what are you retailing at then at the moment, your stuff?
The bottles we do of the winter press, which is what's on sale now, and we've still got a few left, but not many, is £15 for a 250ml bottle, which is the only size we retail. It's about the right size that once you've opened it, you can get through it quite quickly, which is £60 a litre.
It's pretty steep, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but we've had no problem with people paying that. On premium oils, they are going to be expensive. They are going to be very expensive because they're very high quality and they don't create the volume.
Nik is not alone in having olive groves in England. We're aware of one farm in Kent and another in Lincolnshire with some 18,000 olive trees, both hoping to produce their own olive oils, as is Pete Thompson from nature-based farming near Harwich in Essex.
When I first did it, all my Spanish, Italian, French friends were like, no, you can't, that's impossible. You'll never be able to grow a tree in England. We grew the trees, predictably enough. They're like, oh, well, yeah, it's easy to grow the trees. The real difficult bit is making the oil. Yeah, we can make an oil, but to make a really good oil, that's what we want to be.
For Pete, Essex's geography and climate could be big advantages.
We're on a peninsula, we're sticking out into the North Sea, so we've got sea to the north, we've got Hampford Water just here in front of us to the south, and we've got sea to the east. So you get really good light levels because we're that close to the sea, so our light levels are high. You know, we're also the hottest, the driest part of the UK, so it's sort of, if it's going to work anywhere, it'll work here.
Pete Thompson, more on English olive oil on the food programme. That's here on BBC Radio 4 later today at 11 o'clock. Now, all this week, we've been hearing from those about to embark on a farming-related career. For many students, the exams are now over and they're just waiting for the results, which, as I remember it, was both the best and worst of times. Well, for some, that wait is over. The day after final year exam results were announced at CAFRE, Northern Ireland's College of Agriculture, Food and Rural Enterprise, Helen Mark met up with three of the graduates, Matthew Brown, Rebecca Evans and first Luke Fairley.
So I did my placement year with Hutchison Feeds, so I've secured a full-time job as a technical advisor, so I'm looking forward to getting started.
Where did the original influence come from to be involved in farming as your future?
My grandfather, he was very keen to take me out, give me a bit of an education on all things farming. He's a good, patient man, like. That's where my interest came from, so it's all down to him, really.
When you started here at Greenmount doing the agricultural honours degree, were you thinking of going back to the farm?
That was never really an opportunity that we had within the family farm. Of other family, uncles as well and cousins and things, so there's too many people to make it all go round. So no, I'm looking forward to getting into the industry and getting started. The animal nutrition industry is very fast moving. There's always new ideas, science and stuff, so I've learnt a lot. I've been working on dairy farms. My interest was sort of in ruminant nutrition. We've come a long way from 5,000 litre cows till now a lot of cows are well up over 10,000 litres, and there's a lot of research and a lot of work going on around feed additives and methane, so sort of want to specialise in that.
And what about yourself, Rebecca? You were Farming Life, that's our farming newspaper here. You were Young Farmer of the Year.
Still taken by shock, but yeah, definitely one to have under the belt. I done GCSE agriculture at school, and then came straight from GCSEs to Caffrey, level 3, which was 2 years in Greenmount and 1 year on a placement farm. And it was good because I was coming from a small dairy farm and my placement year was 600 cows, so you were through in at the deep end.
What did home say about you going into agriculture? Because on a small farm, it's hard going.
They were all behind me, like they supported me through it all.
Tell me about the farm that's back home.
We have a small dairy farm and sheep farm as well.
Who's running it?
Daddy, and then there's 3 girls in the yard as well. We'll all farm part-time.
Are you going to leave here with ways to make farming better for the family?
Yeah.
And what might those ideas be?
Different technology to try and make life easier that might improve milk yield and different things like that. We have started using better genetics and like genomic testing. So I'm using the things I've learned on placement, bringing it home to try and help on our home farm.
Matthew, you're going back to a family farm. Your family have a big dairy herd. So are you leaving and going home with new ideas?
Yeah, definitely. Through the course we done in Greenmount, we were able to sort of pick what subjects we wanted. So I looked a lot into dairy nutrition and dairy. It's definitely opened my eyes to new ideas, which I hope then to bring home to our family farm.
Well, how do you think that'll go down? This is the young lad coming back from all his studies. We've been running this farm for decades. It's been all right.
Thankfully my dad's pretty easy going, so it shouldn't be any issue.
Does it open your eyes to the challenges that lie ahead for farming in this day and age?
Yeah, well, there's such an uncertainty, and even talking to different people within the class, you see how different things like TB and all that has affected you. You nearly count yourself lucky that maybe you have the opportunity to go home and farm, because a lot of people don't have that opportunity.
Matthew Brown there, along with Luke Fairley and Rebecca Evans. Well, Matthew is hopeful of a career in dairy farming, but 190 dairy farmers left the industry last year. New figures from the industry body, the AHDB, show there are now 7,040 dairy producers in England, Wales and Scotland. That's a 2.6% fall from the year before. Despite that, there has been a 4% increase in the amount of milk produced. This isn't a new trend. In 2000, there were more than 23,000 farmers in dairy, and as their numbers have declined, the amount of milk the remaining farms produce has increased, suggesting a continuing shift to fewer, larger farms. Well, George Holmes is a director of Arla Foods in the UK and runs 3 dairy units in Dorset. He recently co-wrote a paper about why dairy farmers are quitting.
Some of the things were very obvious, such as a low milk price or profitability was maybe some of the reasons they considered giving up. But another important issue was compliance and regulation. But what the research clearly showed was there was a link between these things and mental well-being. And it was the fact that, I guess, dairy farmers felt a lack of control and a lack of self-efficacy. And they felt that they couldn't necessarily control their future, which is one of the things that was driving this poor mental health and the potential reason why they would get out of dairy farming.
This has been a trend for decades, but before, much of it has been driven by falls in the price that farmers get for milk. Over the last year, the price hasn't been that bad. So are you surprised to see more people getting out?
I'm not. I think there's a couple of things going on. The price is much more mixed. Whilst some farmers are getting a very good price, there are some farmers out there challenged with quite a poor price on some contracts, and they're challenged by, ability to find a better contract. So that's an important element. And I think there's also been an opportunity, because some of the other farmers are on better contracts, the prices of cows have been higher, which has enabled people to make that decision and make a good return when they do withdraw from dairying.
Dairy farmers across the board, though, are producing more milk because we have fewer, bigger farms. So in a sense, does it matter if people leave dairying? Is it fair to say that actually the more inefficient farms are the ones that close?
I don't think it's necessarily the more inefficient ones that will close, but I think it's the efficient ones that will grow bigger. Does it matter? I think it does in the long run, because I think it has an overall impact on our countryside. But also, actually, the UK is a tremendous place to make milk. We have a great infrastructure and a great climate for milk production. We can actually do it with a lower carbon footprint compared to many other countries in the world. So we actually should be producing milk here. And we should be using that milk to swap for other foodstuffs that we can't produce in this country. So it should be a key element of how we manage food security.
Dairy farmer George Holmes. The UK has again missed its tree planting targets. Provisional figures for last year show that overall the number of trees planted fell in comparison with the year before, from 20,500 hectares to just over 15,500 hectares. The government aims for 30,000 every year. The picture across the UK varies. The Forestry Commission's statistics show that in Scotland, planting fell significantly by almost half. In England, Wales and Northern Ireland, more trees were planted than the year before, though the targets were still missed. Stuart Goodall is Chief Executive of Confor, which represents the forestry and wood processing sector. He told me woodland creation needs long-term commitment from governments.
You need to have not just somebody who owns land who wants to plant woodland. You need to have tree nurseries growing the trees to be planted. And then you need to have a number of people, foresters to design the woodland, people to plant the trees, fences to protect them, etc., etc. And it's a bit of an iterative process. If you achieve more one year, then people will invest a bit more in terms of the plant and the people and the equipment to do more next year, and then you can build it up. So it's absolutely vital that we have, clear signalling in terms of policy, but also confirmed funding and schemes in place which are attractive enough to persuade people to plant a new woodland.
Are you getting that clear signalling at the moment?
Yeah, I would say it's probably strongest in England, which is something that's developed over the last couple of years. If you spoke to me a few years ago, I would have said Scotland was the obvious place, but most recently in England, I think we've seen the clearest signals of a strong policy direction from the government, from the minister, but also a real developing can-do attitude from within the Forestry Commission. So I think they are probably the best place to keep growing, with Wales starting to develop a timber industrial strategy, wanting to create a new national forest.
Let's look at Scotland, because usually Scotland meets the target. What changed this last year?
Scotland was basically doing the heavy lifting for the UK as a whole in recent years, delivering upwards of 70-80% of new woodland creation across the UK. But a number of things have changed. The most significant was about 18 months ago when there was pressure on the Scottish Government budget. And as part of that, there was a sudden announcement that there would be a 41% cut to the woodland creation budget for 24-25, which is the year we just had reported on. And with that point in mind, that nobody's creating woodland without the funding being available, everybody's levels of aspiration fell to the level of funding that was available, which was around about 9,000 hectares. And there are a couple of other things which we've seen as trending. One is that previously carbon trading was available for almost all types of new woodland creation. A couple of years ago that was changed, and if you're planting a new woodland to produce timber, in effect you're no longer eligible for carbon funding, so that took away a significant stimulus. And we're seeing a lot of local concern around some woodland creation schemes and challenges which are making the process of getting a woodland approved in Scotland stretching out to 4 or 5 years, which is both delaying approval of schemes but also acting as a disincentive.
Stuart Goodall from Confor there, and we should add that in the latest budget, the Scottish Government did partially reverse that cut. That's it from us. I'm Charlotte Smith. The producer is Sally Challoner, and Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.